Okay, so let's go ahead and look and see how this came out. Let's pull off these clamps. We'll check out our wing. So I know I mentioned it before, but you know, this is a really great kit. I originally built one of these back in about 1986, 87, sometime around then. And you know, this thing it's built as a trainer. It is a trainer. It's supposed to be easy build. It's not too bad to build. There are some things about it that are a little tricky, but overall it's a pretty straightforward build. And it flies like a dream. So I'm excited. I want to keep moving on this and get this plane finished so that we can go out and take it for a flight. So anyhow, let's take a look at our dihedral here, how this turned out. So here's the piece that, again, I didn't glue on before, so I'm just going to set that aside. And let's flip it over here. Looks like everything came out pretty good. All my clamps. All right, let's pull this guy off here. This one may have stuck here. No, it did okay. All right. That's what's so nice about, for example, like the wax paper or your parchment paper. Nothing sticks to it. So, all right, so here's our dihedral. And it looks pretty nice. Oops, let's get this off of here. Everything looks pretty good. I'm just going to have to go ahead and do some sanding and such, but looks really good. Okay, so I did realize that I made another small mistake when constructing the wing. Now, the instructions on this plan and on the kit are pretty good. They're okay. There's some of it's a little bit, you know, you have to look at it, some of it, and it doesn't not quite clear. But overall, it's pretty decent. You should be able to work through it okay. But I did make a mistake, and this was actually on the plans. It was just my mistake, and is that these spars, just these spars here and on the bottom here, only are supposed to go to this point right here. They're not supposed to extend all the way in on both sides. I'm not sure exactly why they did that, but they do cut them here and here. And it's not going to be a problem that these are here. In fact, I'm just going to cut these back. I'm going to cut them back to here and here. And then when I sheet it, the sheet's going to go kind of in between those, so it's going to be okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave them, but I am going to trim them back in the center portion because I need to make room for the center pieces that I have to put on there next. So anyhow, if you're looking at this and you actually have this kit, I did this incorrectly. I extended these. These are only supposed to go to here and here, but I extended them all the way in. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these off, and then we'll start looking at the inner, the center portion here. Okay, because you can see here that, oops, you can see here that I went ahead and I trimmed these four out of here. So one thing you'll never hear me say, if you're watching any of my videos, is that I am never claimed to be an expert and the best model builder in the world or anything like that. I just build these how I've been doing it, and I'm just sharing what I'm doing. So I am making mistakes, and that's just the name of the game when I'm doing stuff. But anyhow, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in back here in this rear spar, the trailing edge here. I'm going to go ahead. There's a little bit of a gap, and I'm going to fill that in with CA and the baking soda to fill that gap in, and also to strengthen the bond right there. First of all, I want to see if I can get a good shot of that gap in there. So you can see right here, there is a gap between the two pieces. On the bottom, there's still a little bit of a gap in there. I don't know if I can get that or not, but that's right in here, a little gap. And sort of in the middle, it's okay. So it's just probably because I didn't sand it perfectly and that, but that's what I'm going to fill in now. All right, so here we go. Get your baking soda. Oops. Or, yeah, my little baking soda. Whoa, there we go. And I'm going to take some of this and just brush it in. I'm going to fill that gap nicely. Just brush it in there nicely. Kind of tap it to get it in there. And I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the CA. A couple drops. Boom. Oops, get in there. And that'll take a second or two to go off. There it goes. Amazing stuff. Then I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more in here. Hit it again. There we go. All right, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and brush it in here. Here it goes. Good. Do a little more. And doing this baking soda is also good if you put too much CA on a certain area and you want it to dry quicker. You can kind of, as long as you don't want to mess up your finish. But if it's in a spot that doesn't matter, you can just dump some of this baking soda on there. It'll sort of soak it up, and then it'll go off really quick. So there we go there. And I think I'll do a little bit on the back here. Okay, so you can see how it filled in, and it filled that gap nicely. And same thing on the back here. And right back in here also. Oops, right there. Okay, so that's cool. The front part here, I have epoxy. I have a big blob of epoxy. I'm going to have to sort of trim it. But I think this one's going to be okay as is. Okay, so I spent a little bit of time kind of cleaning up this leading edge where these two spars meet together. So I just sanded off some of that excess epoxy that was sticking out, and that'll make it easier to that'll make it a little bit easier to put on the sheeting and to put on the center pieces. Okay, well now I'm ready to put on these center ribs and the other dihedral brace that'll go in here. So the first thing is that these two ribs, there's two parts to them. This set goes back here. This set goes right here in the front, and they're right up against each other. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sandwich these. Or actually, I'm not going to sandwich them. I'm just going to put them together, and I'm going to hit them with CA. It'll make it a little bit easier to work that way, as just kind of treating them as one piece. This is a perfect application for CA right here. There, that'll hold it for me. Okay, there's that one. One there, we'll clamp this other one. Go. Okay, there's our other one. It'll sit for a second or two. Here's that one, looks pretty good. Check out this one. Uh-oh. I just CA'd my clamp on there. Boy, this thing's hot. It feels hot. All right, dude. A little bit of plastic on there from the clamp. There it goes. Yeah, tear off some wax paper or parchment paper and always do that. It's a good trick so you don't have that happen. Okay, so you may remember I marked these lines on the inside of these dihedral pieces here to help me at this point when I go to line up these rib pieces. So when I put the rib in, this piece here, this front rib, I can put it in and slide it in, and obviously I can see kind of where the low spot is on both sides. but also by having that other extra that line in there, that helps me just get it that much better, I guess. So this one's going to go like this. This one goes in here, like right in here, like this. It's a little bit on the short side. I'm going to maybe put something on the end to help it stick better. Obviously, it's going to be glue, so it's not going to matter. And then what happens is this actually goes in here like this, and it goes inside here. So what I'm going to do, so that I can kind of get this in the right spot, is I'm just going to go ahead and measure and make sure that I have like just a mark on both sides of these two ribs right here, just so I can kind of get it lined up better. So anyhow, I mean, I could eyeball it and it's probably not that big of a deal, but I'd like to go ahead and measure things when I can. So let's do that right now. Okay, so according to the plan, from the back of this dihedral brace right here to where it's going to be located on the rib is a little more than 2.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that on both sides of here. Okay, I'm just going to mark it. There's that one. And the same thing for this side. And even if it's not perfect, at least I'll know I'm close. And then when I'm lining it up, if it's not right on that line, I can kind of just make it, I can adjust it to be near it and use it as a guide. Okay, I was dry fitting this piece in here, and it's actually too wide to fit right here where it's supposed to go. It's actually too wide when I put it on the plans too. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and sand both sides and try to get this to fit. Well, I will get it to fit, but I have to sand both sides. Okay, so I got through sanding this, and I think I got a little bit too aggressive with it, and I made it a little bit too small now. So what I'm going to do now is, just because of that, I'll figure this out. I'll just either put extra epoxy in there, or I may put a little like a little strip of plywood or something, just to kind of meet that gap. But yeah, I thought I was taking my time and doing a good job, but it looks like I went a little overboard with it. So that's okay. We'll figure that out. Okay, so this is just going to be another 30-minute epoxy application. So let me get some epoxy mixed up here. I don't need a whole heck of a bunch on this one, and I'm not doing too much here. All right, so for this one, pop some of this in here. Boy, I mixed a lot of epoxy. I don't need half of this. Okay. Just like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now for the back piece. Glop that on there. Okay. Okay, that looks really good. Okay. Okay, so since I made that mistake and I sanded this thing too narrow, and I have a gap, so now I have to go ahead and figure out a way to mount it to the sides. So I'm going to use these from the spars left over, and I'm going to use them like this to sort of act as a brace in between the ribs. So they're going to sit out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them to the same length as this, and then it's going to trim them down, and then I'm going to use those to help fill that gap. So that was another mistake on my part. Not good, but Wasn't a huge mistake, but it was big enough that I have to fix it, because this one I definitely have to fix. Probably should use my saw. Hopefully I have enough time with my epoxy that I can get these in here. Okay, so I went ahead, oops, and I cut a bunch of these little pieces, and I'm going to use those, like I said, to help fill this gap. So again, you know, I made another mistake, and that's sort of what happens, especially when you build kits, you make mistakes. And the key is that most of the time, it depends on if you make a big or small mistake, but usually if it's a small mistake, you can fix it. So no reason to stress it, right? All right, let's see here. My epoxy's starting to get a little setting up a little bit, but I still think I have enough time. In fact, it may be better in this case that it's setting up a little bit, because it'll help things stick. I'm gonna stick this in here. Just like that. Good. Okay. Now, yeah, this will work. Put some of this in here. Wasn't my intention, but these those little lines I drew on there are really going to be helpful now, because it's going to help me get these guys lined up. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start this. That. Boy, this doesn't. That was kind of a bonehead move there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these clamps to help kind of keep it aligned. And the way to do that is just like that. Okay. As long as I don't glue the clamps on, right? Okay, let's get this on here. All right, so I think this will work. This is going to be okay. Again, I wish I didn't make that mistake, but I did. Cool. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and leave it just like this. The great thing about these little clamps is you can use them as legs. All right, so here you can see the center section, how it's done. Kind of bad light right there, but yeah, so you can see the problem that it is. I thought I was really watching it, and I don't know if I was just daydreaming or what, but I really over sanded this middle piece here. And but I put these little braces in, and also on the bottom down here. Okay, well that's it for now. I'll let this sit overnight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.